Good evening and welcome to Tony's Pizza here in fantastic, fabulous Hagerstown, Maryland. I am your host, Joey Bassford, and this is WCFFL Live. This is a new weekly show replacing my former write-ups with the idea to bring more league interaction into what I have to say about the events going on throughout the week. As you all know, it is now the end of August, and slowly but surely the leaves are turning. There's a bit of a cool wind in the air, and that only means one thing. Football season is among us. This Saturday, Marty Snook Park, Hagerstown, Maryland. We have 5 set of games going on. We are back in order here in the Washington County Flag Football League. But before we talk about this season, let's talk about last. Last season saw Broad Axe winning their 8th consecutive championship. A run that's not been seen in this league ever before or in any other league. 8 straight seasons, sorry about that. Once again, dominant over Ruckus in the championship game, 34-21. And speaking of Ruckus, last season, they rose to the occasion. A major turnaround from a disastrous, almost disastrous, fall 2016 season where they went 2-7, but won the B bracket. And that little bit of a spark of momentum led to a major run, 7-2 in the regular season. They knocked off the Red Knights in the semifinals, but just not enough to beat Broad Axe in the championship. Nonetheless, still very impressed with Ruckus. Great run. Let's see what they can do this year. Also, the one story that everybody could not stop talking about was TNT. The one name that came out of everybody's mouth. The biggest villain in this league, perhaps next to Broad Axe. Every team they faced in the lower half, they destroyed. And when it came to upper teams, they met the standard. They beat both Broad Axe and Ruckus, something no other team did last season, before falling short to Broad Axe in the semifinal game. Can TNT come back this year perhaps and do the same thing, if not more? It also featured Top Gun's shocking run, 0-9. They had not won a game since May of 2016, going into the playoffs of the B bracket, when suddenly a miracle happened. Top Gun knocked off the Ducks. They went and they beat the Spartans a week later and became the B bracket champions of a 2-9 record after not winning a single game throughout the season. However, we also saw some tragedy last season. The Red Knight fell. As the Knights have lost a lot of players from last season, almost their entire defense is gone. They are a shell of their former selves. Can they bounce back this season, or is it truly nightfall? Market Street massacred. A lack of numbers throughout the season. They were still competitive, but just not enough to field a team going into the playoffs and not enough to field a team entering this season. Also, this offseason was met with the death of the Ducks. The Ducks was a team I used to play for. Last season we went 4-5, our best season in franchise history. Unfortunately, due to lack of support internally from the players, the Ducks will not be returning this season. Let us take a moment of silence to remember the Ducks. All right, moving on now. As a whole, it was the best season I have seen in recent years since my return to this league in the fall of 2014. And with that, let's talk about this fall. Let's start with the new power rankings. Now, by rule, all new teams are going to be automatically last in the power rankings, depending on how new they are. RJ said to me a couple weeks ago when we were talking in Sharpsburg that he's the quarterback and he's the safety. A dual threat player, very impressive. And it's a bunch of his buddies together. They're all experienced in football. They love the game. They're smart of the game. And he says they can do some good things, especially on defense. We'll see how that pans out. Not many teams can come into this league and take the world by storm. So let's see how the Brunswick Assassins do in their inaugural season. At number 10 is the Affiliates. They are a bunch of men brought together with one common goal, to win. They were formed back in June. They are mainly based out of the Hagerstown area, with some pieces coming here or there from across. They won the Owings Mills tournament a few weeks ago, and only their second tournament playing together. Very impressive to start. Underrated team, obviously. Like I said, this team is only at the bottom because of the fact that they are still new to the league. and we don't know much about them yet. But to learn more about them, let me turn it over to John Regan, who is sitting and filming this. He's going to come on over real quickly to say it. Give it a second here. John, good evening.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, sir. How was your summer away from football? Well, actually, you weren't away from football. You guys were putting into work every single week, playing in 2 tournaments, I believe?
Yep. We played both in Gettysburg and the Owings Mills tournament. Gettysburg, we went 0-3. It was an open bracket tournament. It was really kind of like a preseason type of deal for us. I mean, just mainly because, you know, it's a new team gelling together. We got a lot of different components coming together, so we just kind of wanted to see what we really had to offer and what we could bring together collectively on the field. Other than that, I mean, you know who the guys are. For the most part, you know who the guys are on the team. You know they're kind of veterans to the format that we play in. So, I mean, it's not like you got a bunch of rookies out there trying to do the best they can. So, I mean, you're gonna see. I don't get too much involved in talking about what we do on the boards and all of that stuff because everybody speculates, and that's cool with me because I like to see guys talk about it too because it's entertaining to me myself. So, I mean, come Saturday, you'll probably see, you know, a good bit of our team and what we have to offer on the field. So we're definitely looking forward to it on Saturday. Shouts out to the Warriors. I'm definitely looking forward to what they have because they've kind of, you know, revamped their team. So it should be definitely interesting.
Thank you, John. Speaking of Warriors, they are the number 9 team in the power ranking. This is their 3rd season. A very much improved team last season from where they were last fall. The offense last fall was dismal, only averaging 2.7 points per game. But this spring, they got it up to about 9. They looked a lot better as the year went on. They scored their first win in franchise history over Top Gun. And they went to the playoffs in the B bracket, only to be knocked out by the GA Spartans, 20-12, very close game. But nonetheless, this Warriors team should be improved in my opinion. They all play together for the most part, especially over the summer practicing for their alumni game against Smithsburg, a 28-27 come from behind win by the Leopards. I personally believe that they have a shot to go up by the time the year is over. Their biggest thing is going to be getting the defense in order. That secondary was gashed a lot last year, but the interior on the offensive and defensive line, as well as their offensive weapons, show a lot of potential and promise. Speaking of the team who defeated them last season in the playoffs, number 8 is the GA Spartans, which I learned today from Coach Don Brown that the GA stands for Greencastle Antrim. I did not know that. I thought it might have been Georgia. They are a 4th-year team. Disappointing spring campaign. They couldn't finish games. They lost in the B bracket championship to Top Gun. But this team was in almost every single game, whether it was Broad Axe, whether it was TNT, whether it was Ruckus, or even the Knights. This team fought to the very end. Just the problem became in the championship game, they just could not finish. And here to talk about the Spartans is the head coach, Mr. Don Brown, a longtime veteran in the league. Don, good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good.
Good summer?
Yeah, real good summer. Excited about this season.
Okay. Is it true that about a month ago you guys were close to folding?
Actually, as of a month ago, Joe, we were folding. Pretty much hung in the hat, announced to my team players and let everybody know that we weren't going to have a team and, hey, guys, go where you can to get somewhere so you can play. After a lot of perseverance and hard work and through some other players that reached out to me, at the last minute, we decided to put a team in. So here we are. We're back. Most of my offense key parts are returning. Picked up some defensive weapons. A few of my defensive players are back as well. Lost a lot of players due to work schedules and whatnot, going back to college, things of that nature. But so we'll see. Really excited. A lot of the new players are excited, kind of revitalizing me. So we'll see what happens. I'm really excited.
All right, perfect. Do you have any words for your opponents, the Red Knights, on Saturday?
Just that we'll see, Andy. We'll see in between the lines, and we'll see what happens. we gave you a battle last year. Hopefully we can be on the upside of that win this year. So,
All right. Cool. Well, thank you, Don.
thank you.
Bringing up next is the team who defeated the Spartans in the B Bracket Championship last year, Top Gun, in their third season. They started, as I mentioned, 0-9 in the spring, won the B Bracket Championship, a miraculous 2 weeks. It was something to behold. Probably one of the best ways I've ever seen to end the season. A classic with Spartans. Potentially they have a better squad entering this season with a lot of momentum from last season. I've heard a lot of players from the Ducks have gone over. Could be interesting to see how they do. No speaker tonight, but perhaps we'll hear more about them later. So going up now, number 6 is the Red Knights. A lot of players lost from last season's team. A lot. Defensively, demolished. They lost their star tight end, John Regan. The team as a whole has been beaten down to not to what they used to be. The Knights we don't know what they got yet. We're waiting to hear back from what Andy has to say. We'll know more Saturday. So for the moment, I put the Knights at number 6. Just too many question marks. We don't know what we're going to get with them. But the one thing that is key at the end of the day is the big man in the backfield, number 9, throwing the ball. He can elevate them to number 1 very quickly. So coming up afterwards is number 5, the X-Dogs. They did not play last spring after what was a fall campaign that just went almost completely off the rails. Started the beginning of the season when Matt Eisenberg, their star quarterback, their captain, their leader, the heart and soul of the team, went down due to injury. No word yet on how he's recovered. We're going to see more about him Saturday when they take on the program. But the one thing I noticed was that without him, they weren't as good. I'll give props to George Nunn. He stepped in as quarterback for X-Dogs, did a fantastic job, even getting them to the semifinals before they were eliminated by Broad Axe. But as a whole, the team's biggest question also may be longevity. How much longer can the X-Dogs stay in that upper half of this league? How many years do they have left? Is it time, perhaps, to put the Dogs down? So coming in at number 4 is the program. This is a team that has been on the cusp for years. The last 3 seasons, they seem like every year they're going to rise up and they're going to take it. They have not. They have beaten up on the lower half of the league. Fairly decisively, I might add. But against the upper half of the league, the only win they've had is against TNT and Ruckus in recent years. They have not beaten Broad Axe. They have not beaten the Red Knights. But they're close. They support one of the best defensive lines in the league. They have athletes across the board, very well organized. But the question is, can they take the next step? Coming in at number 3 is TNT, Too Much Talent. This was a team who surprised a lot of people last spring. Expansion team in this league. They beat Broad Axe and Ruckus. They have athletes everywhere. This was a team that should have gotten... I thought they should have gotten to the championship, but they had a bad draw in the semifinals against Broad Axe after they beat them. They had awoken the beast, and unfortunately the beast bit back harder. Some players have left from the spring, but the one consistent back is TJ Williams, who is the head coach of the team and played some quarterback last year. Not much known yet. We'll know more about him on Saturday when they take on Top Gun. At number 2 is Ruckus. They had an impressive run in the spring. Best season in franchise history. 7-2. They had more wins last season than I believe they've had in the entirety of their franchise dating back to their first season. As crazy as that seems, it's just been a rough go for Ruckus. The offense came around finally. They went from not being able to score a single point in 3 straight games last fall to putting up almost 20 points per game in the spring. But the defense, however, was a little lackluster. They weren't as powerful as they were the previous season, where they were only surrendering about 11 points per game. A lot of shootouts they were involved in. They managed to take down every single team along the way with the exception of Broad Axe and TNT, going 0-3 against both of them, including a 25-13 loss to TNT that snapped Ruckus's 9-game winning streak they had. And now at number 1 is Broadax. What more do I got to say? They have destroyed this league. Oh wait, I don't have to say anything. I have the man right here. I have Tyler Spencer, and he's got the brass trophy to show it. Tyler,
Baby.
8 straight seasons.
How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you feeling?
Swell. Thank you. This is a wonderful thing for the league, for sure.
No problem, man. Always glad to help out. But 8 straight seasons of winning it all. Does it ever get tiring?
We've come close, man. It hasn't been as easy as it may seem, as people might think. These last couple years, last season for sure, it got rocky. You saw we fielded 14, 13, like 2 or 3 weeks. I had a 53-year-old quarterback take over the
Don Tapley, yeah.
Don Tapley, a good old Miller Lake legend, came out and got 3 solid wins, and it was a rough season, man. It was tough, but held out.
Yeah. I was impressed by the end of the run. You guys, I think the biggest mistake made last year was TMT beating you all. All season long, I said you all been reeling, and then the minute TMT beat you, I said it's over. Broadax will win it all.
That definitely helped fuel the fire for sure. Reminiscent of when X-Dogs popped us in the mouth, I believe, last fall. First loss of the season. Sucked. First loss in a long time, and then it pissed everybody off. Essentially, gave us something to fight for, and that was one of the best seasons we had defensively. I think we only gave up. I think we averaged less than 7 points a game that year. It was about 6.9. That was a hell of a year, and X-Dogs definitely had a lot to do with that. So shout out to them for fueling that fire.
Heart of the champion as always. What are your words for the Brunswick Assassins playing their first game ever against you all? I went through that experience too. Back in the fall of 2014, my first game coaching Survivors was against Broadax, and I remember me and the boys, we pulled up and we looked at you all, and we just see a lot of these heavy-set guys, these older-looking guys.
Old white guys.
And all we could say was, you know what?
Bunch of old white guys.
We can outrun these guys. We got speed. We can beat them. We're going to upset them. It didn't quite go well. And we learned the hard way. Well, the Assassins learned the hard way this Saturday afternoon.
Unfortunately, I won't be there this weekend to greet the Assassins into the league. Sure enough, they'll hear me throughout the season for the games that I am able to make. For the first game of the season, I don't know. I mean, other than that team you guys had, that's a rough way to enter the league. Shout out to Andy Hoffman for that. I mean, we know who makes the schedule. I don't know who requested that or how that occurred, but it's definitely a rough start. At least it gets easier from there, you could say, essentially. Power rankings wise, it's not easy at all. I mean, every week, I don't mean that to sound like it's easy at all, because every week is tough. From the bottom up, I think every team is going to compete this year. I'm really excited to see the Warriors and Top Gun, like especially because they are they're building, man. They have a lot, that to look forward to, and the B bracket is just nothing to shy away from. It's not second best or anything like that. Ruckus went immediately to the top. I mean, it's a game-changing thing. Everybody has to start somewhere and get some type of experience. So luckily they can play us first and get out of the way. But I think they have a lot to learn, for sure. Everybody does, but they might shock a few teams. So it'll be interesting to see how the league unfolds this year.
We'll see. I do believe I think we're going to be even stronger than we were last spring, to be honest with you. The league's on the up and up. I think it's probably the best it's been since the late 90s. I remember going as a kid to Marty Snook. It was very competitive, very fierce, and I think the level we are now might be the best we've seen in 20 years.
Yeah, you and I both grew up out there. I mean, you remember we were there from sun up to damn near sundown. Last game started at 3 o'clock, just like now. I mean, you had 11 teams in the league, and every game was competitive. So it's, and shout out to Mr. Stubbs for having his lovely food truck out there. I know this fall he's going to be implementing breakfast, so look out for the breakfast. He's going to have the griddle out there. He said he's doing pancakes, bacon, sausage, eggs, so it'll definitely be filling, and support him because he supports us. So the league it's reminiscent of its glory days, man. I mean, I think it's just on the up and up, and the more teams we can get, the better. So
Perfect. I'm very excited. So now that we've gotten to this point, we're at the near end of the show. Let us pick the games for this week. I'm going to start by talking about it. John, Don, feel free to come back on over and sit here. We can all pick games together. The first game is at 9 o'clock. It is Too Much Talent versus Top Gun. This was an absolute disaster for Top Gun back in the spring. 40-0. They didn't even finish the third quarter. They called it off. But I believe Top Gun's going to play a better game than they did last spring. It's a much, much different team, a much better team. But I feel like TNT is just way too much for them right now. They're going to have the puncher's chance, but I think their best bet's going to be keeping TNT's offense off the field to shorten this game as much as they can. I'm going to go TNT in the end, though. I just feel like they're just so much better. I say 70% chance TNT wins that game. Don, your thoughts on TNT Top Gun?
TNT Top Gun, because I don't know who TNT's bringing back, and with Top Gun's additions, I think that's going to be a close game the whole way around. It's either going to be a close game on both sides, or somebody's going to run away with it. If you're going to force me to pick, I guess I'm going to go probably lean towards TNT just based off of last year.
Tyler?
I'm going to be a dick and say Top Gun. I'm that guy. I mean, it is what it is. Ultimately, I think TNT will win because they have better athletes and, they've got speed, and speed kills. I mean, we've all seen it. It depends who shows up. I mean, this is one of those games that it depends on both teams who shows up, bottom line. 9 o'clock coming from Winchester, kind of rough for TNT. Top Gun only fielding, 13 like all year long. Hopefully everybody shows up for both teams. Everybody gets a good look of them, and I think TNT will win. But I'm rooting for Top Gun. So sorry, TJ.
John.
I don't know. The 9 o'clock game makes it kind of interesting because we don't know if TNT is going to get these guys to the field on time. But you also got to remember that it's the first game of the season, so everybody's excited about that as well. I'm going to say TNT, but I think it's going to be a really close first half. I think there's going to be a lot of both the sides are going to be prone to turnovers early on, and then I think TNT is going to ultimately end up taking it away at the end.
Okay.
Good call out.
Next game is going to be the Spartans and the Knights at 10:30. Both teams have questions to a degree. Spartans almost forward a month ago, but Don seems like he's cleared it up. He was telling me a lot of good things earlier about what you guys are bringing to the table, so I'm pretty excited for you all. The Knights have to prove themselves immediately. They are not looking good going into this season. And a loss to Spartans is going to set a negative tone the rest of the way. They do have Andy still, but I think in the end, the Spartans win because from what I'm gathering, they're a more complete team right now. The Knights are in shambles. They have Andy, but it doesn't seem like they're going to have much close to what they were. So let's go. I'm going to go for now with the upset pick. Spartans over Knights. I said this last year, though. So big. Huh?
You got a score?
I can see this being a really mid-scoring game. Something like, say, 20-14 or something like that. I could also see Spartans going over that defense because a lot of the talk is the Knights have lost their defense, and that has been one of their better units the last few seasons. I think Spartans win in a close one. Don, we know who you're going to go with. So Tyler, your pick. Spartans or Knights here?
I got to agree with you, man. I think it's going to go down to the wire for sure. Listen, my man Don Brown, I support this man. He goes out of his way for a lot of things. He did some recruiting this offseason, and both teams, from the Spartans going to not having a team possibly, and the Red Knights being depleted, you got two teams where you really just don't even know what you're going to get. So, you got Adam Malott coming back at quarterback for the Spartans, but you also know both teams have a history of, late game mishaps, as you would call them. So I think the game is going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes and who can capitalize on their turnovers. Ultimately, I would probably have to say the Red Knights, but I think that's going to be one of the games of the week for sure. That's going to be a battle, hands down.
I think most certainly that is going to be the game of the week to watch out for in terms of competitiveness. Both teams seem even on surface. I think Spartans are going to be a bit better. I've already talked, so I apologize, but I do definitely agree it's going to be one of the best games of the week. John, do you think your former team can handle the Spartans?
I mean, honestly, I do. I mean, because here's the thing. When we talk about the Spartans and their history, I don't know how different their team is going to be this season, but I know in the past they've struggled against, top, 5 offenses in the league. So when you talk about that and you talk about Andy being a quarterback against their defense, whether it's, shaken up or not, Andy can pretty much put anybody in those wide positions and put them the ball in spaces. So when I look at the matchup on paper, I think it could go a little higher scoring just because there's a lot of question marks behind the defense. But I think at the end, I think the Red Knights will win this one.
Okay.
I like it. John.
Next game, X-Dogs in the program, 12 p.m. kickoff.
Man, I forgot about that.
The return of Matt Eisenberg to the Washington County Flag Football League almost 1 year to the day of his horrific injury last fall. Last time these two have faced, the last 2 times have both been beatdowns. In the playoffs last year, the X-Dogs absolutely stumped the program. It was not close, 27-0. They went up and they ran all over them the whole game. It was not pretty. But before that, earlier in the year after Eisenberg went down, the program pounded X-Dogs by the same score.
True.
So the question is going to be, are we going to get more of the first game or the second game? I think that if Eisenberg's 100% and he is who he was, I wouldn't be shocked if X-Dogs won this game by 2 or 3 scores. I really wouldn't.
Oh shit! Let me stop you right there real quick.
I don't know.
Let me go ahead and be that guy. Stop you right there real quick.
I watched Georgie Nunn have a field day with their defense last year.
This is true. And George is the second string quarterback. He's not the quarterback he used to be, although George is still the best athletes in the league.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go ahead and put in my pick. I'm going to have to give the program the dub just because of rust. X-Dogs had a whole season off. Program played. A couple of program players have been active in tournaments. They've gotten some experience. They've seen some things. And their defensive line is nasty.
Yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. X-Dogs doesn't miss flags. Matt's great. They've got athletes. They've got guys who just do their job. But I think the program is especially hungry. Granted, the last 2 seasons, they had to play us first. Obviously, that didn't go favorable for them either way. But I think they have a lot to prove with this opening game. And I think they're going to try to go out there and smack X-Dogs in the mouth and set the tone for the rest of the season. I'm not counting X-Dogs out. I'm just saying, I'm just saying I think the program has a slight edge here based off of the little bit of rust the X-Dogs is facing. And I think the program have a lot more hunger. The X-Dogs missing the season, they're hungry to play, but I think the program's just jawing at the bit to smack everybody in the mouth this season. And I wouldn't be afraid to say that I think they might do it to better half of the league. I mean, there's something to fear. Like you said,
Preseason number 4.
They've got athletes top to bottom.
They definitely have something. They're definitely a team that are out to prove something for sure. And I got to agree with everything Tyler said at this point. The only thing that leaves a big question mark that hangs over me is their quarterback concern. Yep. Who is their starting quarterback going to be, and is he going to be mature enough to lead and call the plays in the huddle? And are they going to, be patient enough to mold and learn and listen by that? But yeah, I'm leaning towards the program, but then again, is Matt
Matty Ice? Matty Ice?
Is Matty coming out hot and ready?
Matty Ice?
So
don't fall for the pump fake.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much that's already been said that I can't add on. I mean, I like the program in this game. I'm rooting and praying for Matt that he gets back on the field and he does what we all know him to do. Showtime. No doubt about that. But I like the program this year, honestly. I think they're a team that's filled with competitors, and I think they'll answer their questions at the quarterback position. I know there was a couple times last season where a couple different players actually stepped in, and they were still effective. So I definitely think the program is a team to look out for this year.
Yeah. Having listened to you guys, I do believe in the program. Don't get me wrong. I think this could be a close game.
Definitely.
If anything.
Matty Ice, man.
Yeah.
That clock control. All games are 12 minutes this year.
15.
It's 15 still, I believe. I think there's one where it might be 12, but at least that's the schedule indicates.
It's 15 unless there's a rain out or some kind of delay, or
Okay.
something, and then it would go to 12
If
minutes.
that shit drops to 12, X-Dogs will get it.
Yeah.
That's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, you make a point about the rust. I think as a whole, though, X-Dogs, because of experience,
Yeah, true.
win in the end in a
They
close
do.
game. Because when it comes to close games,
They play
experience
pickup
trumps
flag.
all.
That's true. They play pickup flag football all year long up there
Yes.
too.
I get
so-
notification every Sunday.
Yeah, so they're definitely trying to test it.
Okay. Next game is Broad Axe and the Assassins. This is a total mismatch. Assassins making their debut against an 8-time champion. It's the equivalent of an expansion franchise playing the defending Super Bowl champion in their first game ever. Or an equivalent of a college football team, say Shepherd playing Alabama in their debut.
It's rough. It's a rough comparison.
Been there, done that.
Assassins, they seem like they have power, they have speed from what I've been told. I don't know how much to believe of this is. But Broad Axe,
old men too. So.
Too many unknowns.
yeah,
You got a
that's
bunch
the
of old
thing.
guys out there too.
Like
Bro-
they playing.
Broad Axe is the New England Patriots. They are the Alley and the Crimson Tide of this league. I expect a blowout easily. But this will be the game that I film at 1:30 on Saturday afternoon with my camera. WJFB will be doing a live broadcast of the Broad Axe and Assassins game to showcase the defending champions and the new fresh blood of the league. But Broad Axe big. Broad Axe big. Don?
Broad Axe. God love them, and hopefully they get some points on the board so it doesn't totally discourage them. But yeah, Broad Axe big. Like you already mentioned, it's their first game out. Unfortunately, you got a new team versus a 8-time champion team. So, Broad Axe, take it easy on them, guys. Don't destroy them. Don't beat them down too hard so they keep coming back and keep rebuilding. It takes time.
I disagree. Broad Axe beating us up in our first season built a lot of character for survivors. Tyler, you think? I know the answer to your question. John?
I don't know. I mean, look, we know it's going to end up being a beat down by Broad Axe because we know what they bring to the table. We know what they've done for many years in the past.
Absolutely.
But you always got to remember, it's opening day.
Fact.
And you're talking about a team that nobody really knows what they have to bring to the table. So there's often times where, this championship team will walk on the field and take it lightly.
That's
And, shit happens early on. So we don't know what's going to happen early on. But I think Broad Axe will ultimately, at the end of the game, take it way over control and, bully them out to the end of the whistle. But like I said, though, I'm curious and anxious to see what Assassins had to offer early on.
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Love to see the new teams. It just means the league's growing and everybody gets excited about it.
And it's a beautiful thing, too. I was here, my first season, we only had 6 teams. And then the next spring, we only had 5.
Yeah, that was dangerous.
Yeah.
That was dangerous.
We've doubled the number. And it's so much better. The product on the field is because of it.
They asked what happened to Survivor.
Let's not talk about that.
R.I.P. Survivor.
Survivor strong.
First thing he says, R.I.P.
And our last game of the week, 3 o'clock kickoff, affiliates making their Washington County Flag Football League debut as a team playing together against the Warriors. No offense to my fellow Boonesboro / Warrior brethren, this has mismatch potential. I think Warriors are going to have a better team than they did last year, but I don't think it's enough to take on affiliates. This is a team who went and did well in Owings Mills. They have guys who have years of experience playing flag football together. And I think it will be close early, though. I think Warriors will come out fighting. But in the end, I think affiliates pull away. I think we're going to see a nice show from you guys. But I'm going to be afraid to say this turns into a 35-7 kind of game.
It could. But again, you got to remember, like you were just saying, this is our first time
Yep.
up here in the league playing together. I mean, obviously, I have all the confidence in the world of my guys, especially coming off of the chip in Owings Mills. But I mean, it's one of those things where we can't walk on the field just like we were talking about with Broad Axe and take it lightly just because it's the Warriors. it's one of those things where we got to show up like we're playing a broad Excalibur team, and we have to do what we're supposed to do. I mean, and what we did in Owings Mills, it's got to carry over, and I think it will. I think the momentum will carry over. But I mean, it's just one of those things where you got to be on top of your game come Saturday.
It's definitely going to go with them, even though they're sight unseen. The Warriors are growing and getting better and slowly establishing themselves. Still have a little bit of curiosity who they will have this year at quarterback, because that's been an issue with them. Affiliates have a good set quarterback, and so that's, yeah, I'm gonna go with the affiliates. Not a whole lot to say there.
Tyler?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think you gave the Warriors a little bit more of a chance than I am. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the affiliates are either gonna come out and smack them in the mouth off break, or it's gonna take a possession, and then they'll be like, all right, let's get on our shit, and then they're gonna get on their shit. Because I mean, everybody makes mistakes. It's gonna be week one for everyone. Nobody really goes out there and their first drive is like a success total. Yeah, you know, we did it. So, I mean, at worst, I expect the affiliates to have like maybe a bad drive, and then it's just going to be clockwork from there. They're riding a big wave with that tournament win. Everybody has something to prove.
Yep.
I got love for all the guys on that team. They've got a hell of a team. I mean, seriously, we all know who most of them are. They've got a couple of guys, maybe a bunch of guys we don't know who they are, and they're explosive, man. I mean, they've got firepower. So the Warriors have a couple of pieces that they definitely probably added. But I think it's kind of like reminiscent of our game, just because the affiliates are a powerhouse. They definitely are. And the Warriors are still trying to get there. So Warriors might get a score or two, but that defense is nasty. So best of luck to them.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting either way. The start of a 3-month journey ahead for the Washington County Flag Football League, which you can find every Saturday at Marty Snook Park. Games are played at 9 a.m., 10:30, 12 p.m., 1:30, and 3 o'clock. So ride on up to Marty Snook for a fun football frenzy. And with that, we are finished tonight. We hope to see you again next week. Leave your thoughts and comments below in the video. Send some messages to me if you've got any questions. Perhaps we can answer them on air for next episode. Till then, I'm Joey Bassford with Don Brown, Tyler Spencer, and John Regan, saying good night from Tony's Pizza here in Hagerstown, Maryland. Thank you.
Chill. Did we get? How many people were saying that's his?